welcome to this week's episode of Around the Table. It's great to have you back with us, and you can see I'm joined by a different person this week. I'm not going to be joined by a different person every week. Unfortunately, Jenny's not well this week, but we wanted to still go ahead and get an episode recorded. So it's great to have Alex with me. Welcome.
Thank you.
Alex is the Director of Music here at St Michael's.
Yep.
But we'll talk a little bit about what that looks like in a bit. It's not the only thing you do, though, is it? You do all sorts of other things.
Yes, here and outside, I suppose.
Yeah, so let's start with that, I guess. What do you do here? What does Director of Music mean? What else do you do here at St Michael's?
So I guess it encompasses looking after the choir. We have a monthly choir rehearsal at the moment, which I hope to increase. We have a monthly choir appearance in church on the second Sunday of every month, where they sing some anthems and they make the hymns sound louder, I guess.
Okay.
I obviously look at any music you might want in different services, look at arranging the music, obviously with a lot of guidance from you at the moment, which is diminishing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And I play the organ.
You play the organ, the big thing of your role.
Yeah, the big main thing for me, which is where I started. And yeah, I guess that's my favourite bit as well.
Okay, so I think when most people look at organists, I mean, there's changing dynamics in the nation at the moment about this. There's an amazing organist touring the States who's then going to tour the UK. But I guess when most people think about an organist, they don't think of someone that looks like you.
No, in fact, I've had comments when I've been here at this church. I think one of the vicars, when you were away on holiday, actually said to me, "Oh, I think you're the youngest organist I've ever seen." And being a female as well, it's not, you don't see that many, although, as you've said, more and more, but you don't see that many female organists, so yeah.
And organists under the age of 50?
I'd say under the age of 80. No, no, yeah, just under the age of 50, yeah, but I think, yeah, it's getting younger. Yeah. And there's more people learning it again, but I guess it wasn't a very fashionable instrument for many years.
Yeah. So what got you into playing the organ?
My dad. So nothing to do with church or worship, actually, the opposite, I would guess. But my dad was a musician. He sang in bands. He was a guitarist, and at some point, I don't know, in his 40s, I was young, I was 11 or 12, he was a compere at a social men's, working men's club, something like that. And it was closing down, and they were throwing out the organ and the drum kit, and he said, you know, of my dead body, that's not happening. And the next thing, there was a Hammond organ, a big Leslie speaker, a full drum kit in the dining room, and Mum's dining table in the garden, which she wasn't best pleased with. And an employed ex-drummer and organist from the Working Men's Club became our teachers.
Okay, so you could have played drums.
I did.
You did play drums?
Yeah, so for about 2 weeks I did the drums, and actually my younger sister did the organ, but she was a little bit hot-headed, my sister, and she had a tantrum over it, so we swapped.
Okay.
So it's, all very fateful, I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So you rocked up here 2 years ago.
Yes.
And said, can I play the organ?
Yes.
And can I take on the job?
Yes.
How did that happen?
So again, I think this is really strange, and I quite like this story. My 3 children all have biblical names, and I wouldn't say I kind of sat with the Bible looking for those names, but I really like traditional names that have a little bit of meaning. And so my youngest son, who is now 8 and was then 5, Abel, came home from school really cross with me one day, actually, really cross. Why have I never been to church? So, sorry.
If only every child did that.
Yeah, he did. Why have I never been to church? You're going to get the full truth here about this story, okay? So, why have I never been to church? And I said, well, you're not baptised, you're not a Christian. He said, are you a Christian? I said, well, I've been baptised, and there have been points which I know we'll speak about. I said, but no, I don't go to church. Well, do you not believe in God? I said, well, yes, I do believe in God. He said, well, why don't we go to church? He was really cross. I want to be a Christian. I said, well, what do you know about it? And he literally knew very little. He knew that there was a man called Jesus. He knew that there was God. He knew about Christmas. You know, he knew the main stories. And he said, I want to go to church, and I want to go this Sunday. And that was actually about 4 weeks before I took the step to come.
Okay.
And I remember sitting at home and thinking, sorry, Calum, thinking, he's going to forget about this.
Well, I hope he forgets about this.
Yeah, I really did, honestly. And I was like, he's going to forget about this, it's going to go away. And it just didn't. It went on every day. He came home from school. Have you booked us in to go? When can we go? Which one are we going to? And in the end, my next sinful thought was, well, if I take him, it'll put him off. So I'll take him. I'll take him. So I did a little bit of an online search, local churches with children's groups, and up popped St Michael's Bramhall. At the time, we had the monthly buds service, and I think you had something else going on, like children's services or family service?
All in or something like that.
Something else. And it happened to be coming up the following Sunday.
Okay.
So I said, right, we're going to go next Sunday. But I was still really apprehensive. And so I decided to get in touch. I tried to call the office. I think it must have been after hours.
Okay.
And then I thought I'll just walk down. So I arrived at the gates one day, and our church wardens were busy gardening, and I think you were there.
Yeah, I think you came on a Monday morning, and Monday morning, definitely when it's not raining, is garden time, sorting out the grounds.
And it was a really sunny day, if I remember. Everybody was outside gardening, and I walked on and I got the loveliest welcome and a cup of tea, and I'd not even hardly spoken before I was offered a drink. And I said, my little boy wants to come to church, so it's nothing to do with the organ at the time. And they were like, yeah, let's go and get Calum. And I remember you came along and you were like, hi, I'm Calum Piper. And I was like, ooh, how do I address you? Because I was so nervous. Do I call you Reverend, or do I call you Mr. Piper or Reverend Piper? I didn't know. And you said Calum, because that's my name. And I just remember the sign on the door at the time was "Come as you are," and I remember you pointing that out, and I told you I was a bit nervous. And you said, yeah, we've got everything. It's a lovely church. The only thing we don't have is an organist. And honestly, you know what my mouth's like. It ran away before the brain kicked in, and I went, ooh, I used to play the organ. I'd love to have another go.
Yeah. So you started Easter Sunday 2021.
Yeah, somebody had that idea, didn't they?
And 2 years later you've been playing the organ, and the organ is in bits at the moment, being restored, ready for you to be able to play it even better in 6 weeks' time. And so that's a short kind of bit of information about what you do in church and how you came to being church. Church isn't the only thing you do, though. You have all sorts of other things you do. Yeah. So tell us a bit about the rest of your life.
Okay, so I think I've already mentioned that I've got 3 children. One is almost 19. He now doesn't live at home. He's moved out. He's living with his girlfriend. I have a almost 17-year-old daughter who comes and helps out sometimes here at the church. And then I've got now the 8-year-old who still attends church every single week and actually gets cross if he's not allowed to attend because of whatever reason, he's late, whatever. I am married. I've just got a puppy.
You've just got a puppy. What sort of puppy have you got? People will be interested.
He's a German Shepherd. He's all black. He's one of the 6%. He's beautiful. Very naughty at the moment, but we're coping because I've got loads of time in my life for this. I am a personal trainer. Full time. That's my main occupation. I'm self-employed, and that's what I do. I run a non-profit community interest company with my lifelong best friend, where we help connect people who have given up alcohol for whatever reason. We do a lot of social events and camping and a podcast, everything, loads of other bits and pieces. Do I have any other time? I do have a social life. It's small, but I do have one. So you're a full-time PT? Yes.
So training clients in a gym and online, or a bit of both?
Yeah, a bit of both. It's like a private fitness personal training suite, so it's got all the equipment, but it's not a big commercial gym. It's just like 1-to-1s or 2-to-1s only. Online, a little bit of online.
And how did you get into personal training?
So it was before lockdown, I think. Yeah, so at the very beginning of Be Sober, I think that was back end of 2019.
So let's start with Be Sober then. Why did you get into Be Sober? Why did you set Be Sober up? Right.
Oh, this is really complicated. So my dad was alcohol dependent my whole life, and he'd given up drinking for 10 years before he died. He died when I was about 30. So just to put that into context, I'm just coming up 46. I was 31 when he passed away. And he had a real struggle with alcohol. It hadn't been particularly nice at home. He was a good dad. Him and my mum managed to stay together. I don't know how, I'll be honest with you, but they did, and that was it. And he'd given up drinking for 10 years, and I saw massive changes in him over that 10 years. He became a very, very different man and a better man. And after he died, that's not why I gave up. I lost 2 friends to alcohol, and I would say with my drinking, I was a bit of what I would say a normal UK drinker, was a binge drinker. I kind of grew up in that scene where girls were trying to match the lads in the pub, pint drinkers, playing pool, we were laddettes. So I had good fun, I had good times. I only drank Friday, Saturday. sometimes Sunday, depending. And unfortunately, at the back end of 2018, I suffered a miscarriage, and then again in 2020. And somewhere in between those two, I decided it was best for my mental health that I knocked alcohol on the head for a little while. I only intended to give up for 30 days just to pull myself together. I was off work, I was battling with anxiety, depression, not really coping very well. And what I'd found was, instead of just having a drink on a Friday, Saturday for a bit of fun, I was going, I need a drink to feel better. And obviously I didn't feel better. I felt 100 times worse. I'd wake up feeling groggy. Then I'd be like, why did I do that? And it just felt a little bit out of control. So I decided 30 days off alcohol. A year previous to that, my best friend, who I've been best friends with since I was 11, had given up drinking for her own reasons and started organising little meetups in Manchester with other people who weren't drinking because there wasn't very much around. And when I stopped, I said, I'd love to do that. And that's where Be Sober came up. So I gave up drinking in June 2019, and Be Sober was kind of born as it is now by the November.
So how big is Be Sober?
It's literally over the world now. We have people in Australia, we have people in America, we've got people in Russia, mainly UK based. Up north, down south, London, Manchester being the two main areas. But yeah, I mean, definitely countrywide.
So that's supporting people that have given up alcohol for whatever reason. That's got you into the personal training world. Yeah, so what happened was we decided that it wasn't just about giving up drinking. Actually, the real progress comes when you start to build other things in your life that build health and help you. And, as you'll know, some people who go maybe through a 12-step program, a lot of people find God or find faith or find something. It boils down to having a community and connection, I think. So we decided that the community needed more things. We introduced yoga, we introduced a book club, lots of things, and the thing that was missing was fitness. And we couldn't afford to hire anybody to run the fitness for us 3 times a week in the mornings. So I said, I'll do it. And I'm quite, I'd been doing bits of fitness over the years before that, so I'd done kettlebell classes, I'd had a bit of my own training, I'd run couple of distances, marathon, half marathon, but nothing that I would say I was invested in seriously. I just dabbled in and out. And I felt that it was giving me a little bit of a purpose in those mornings, getting up. So do you do a fitness class 3 times a week for your Be Sober community?
Yeah, and I have done every single week since about the 1st of November 2019.
So first thing in the morning, online presumably?
Yeah, online, Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Wow, what a discipline.
And that's whatever day, I get up, do it and get on with it. And if I don't do it because I'm not well, I sit there and talk so then they do it. And so it's expanded from there, and you now train clients in person as well? Yeah, so again, a little bit complicated. There's a messy bit in the middle that we haven't got time for, but I qualified as a personal trainer because I felt that I wanted to make sure I was giving the right advice. And then, due to another set of circumstances, on the back of my mental health failing through the miscarriage, I stepped out of my permanent teaching position. I was a biology teacher in a previous life. And it left me, because of the timing, unemployed on the 20th of March 2020, which was 2 days before we got locked down, I think. Wow. So I was unemployed, couldn't get furloughed, and I had to make some money. So I went online with my PT. So you've got that PT qualification, you're helping people with fitness. Why is fitness so important? Part of what you've said, the discipline, the kind of consistency, the motivation, the making sure that no matter what goes on, your body's strong enough to carry you. I was in a really low state at that point in my life, mentally and physically. I was drained, I was exhausted. But to invest something in this vessel that's going to carry you around until the day you die, to me, it's just, it's the priceless thing. So coming back to a question that I'm going to be asking all our guests, whatever their background, whatever they kind of do outside of church, how do you connect that sense of helping others, building community with Be Sober, or helping people get fit with your training, with your faith? I feel it's quite difficult, that, because they seem so far apart, yet they're not. I mean, first of all, I would never have been in a position where I'd stepped into the church had I not been sober. I wouldn't. I wouldn't have wanted to get up on a Sunday morning to come in and play the organ, so I wouldn't have rediscovered a church. I think the community aspect is identical. You know, I've got people here, I've got people in Be Sober, I've got people in the fitness. I'm a people person. I need to be surrounded by people, and I like to give back in both. And I think that all of that is because I have some sort of faith, belief in looking after myself, in making sure that I respect my body, that I respect my mind, and that comes back to God giving life, giving the gift of life, and having that self-respect. That's probably the crux of it for me. And I think the belief that no matter how low and how bad things get, things happen and they're not always good. You know, I used to sit and pray, please God, don't let this be a miscarriage. It was a miscarriage. But I do believe, as sad as and maybe heartless as this sounds, those things happen because they're meant to happen. There's another door being opened for you, and the door that's meant to be opened for you, and you have to have an element of close your eyes and leap and faith for that to happen. Yeah,
it's that famous scene in the Lost Raiders, isn't it? Indiana Jones and the Lost Raiders, isn't it?
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Raiders of the Lost Ark, that's it. And he's about to cross over a great big chasm and just got to trust that there's a bridge there. And faith is that sort of thing for you?
Yeah, I think so. And, you know, sometimes you don't know what it is that you're believing in, I don't think. You know, you might pray for something and get something completely different. But the different thing is what was meant to be. And that, for me, is where faith and having complete trust that it will work out comes in.
So it's almost like God's a foundation stone on which you're building other things.
Now, it's flipped. So whereas before I think everything I was doing was the foundation and then God appeared, I think now it's like, you know, like you say, God's the kind of thing that holds all that together and allows me to fit all these different things in and to work with the people I work with, to give back, to not feel, oh, poor me, you know, all of those things.
I was going to ask you, how do you balance it all?
I don't all the time. I run into, you've seen me, if I'm playing the organ for a funeral, I've been known to come in my gym gear with a jacket over the top, running in while I change my shoes, or pulling my leggings up underneath the long skirt that I've placed on in the car. And sometimes things drop off and things are difficult. But I think it helps having the support and the kind of commitment from the people around you as well, especially in this team. You know, when I called you last week and said, Calum, I'm not well, I'm really sorry, you're like, it's not your fault, you will, you know. It's that kind of thing.
So two more questions. The first of which is, to someone watching thinking, I'm not very fit, and don't really give any attention to fitness, maybe I should, or I just don't know where to start, what would you say to them?
I wasn't very fit, first of all, and I know that's not always helpful, but there's two things I like to hear. One of them is like, you know, everybody starts from somewhere, and you can always get better than where you are. Forget looking across at other people, look at you and look how you can improve. And I like the saying, the man on the mountain didn't just fall there. It is a climb, it is work, but adding in one thing that
whether that's a walk or lifting a book.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're sat all day on the sofa and all you do is sit there and watch television, then it might be 10 squats a day, or it might be 100 steps a day. It's just looking at where you are and improving on that. You don't have to be, you know, a world record holder or a marathon runner.
You don't have to be going into a gym if you really don't want to go there.
No, there's loads of options out there anyway now. But I think, for me, the gym, it's getting less and less intimidating the more I do, and I think everybody finds that. It is a bit about practice and sometimes just having the confidence to sort of walk in and think it doesn't matter, because no one cares. Nobody's looking at you.
Brilliant, thank you. And the other question that I wanted to ask is, for someone that thinks that maybe they've got life sorted, they're at the top of their game in the gym, or their life is completely balanced, what would you say to them about exploring faith? All my life I've dabbled in and out of churches, and I don't necessarily believe that you have to go to church to have faith, but I do think it helps. Since I've attended here for the last 2 years, I have found a new family. I have found people who genuinely love me for me, and I love them for them, and we have fun, and it's not what I thought it was going to be.